ようこそみんな。これがザスティングオフタイム。
Feel real bad. But yeah,
That's a very natural.
yeah, a smooth and natural intro. We are back with another sting of time, much like a clock made of ice. We keep ticking along on watch 44, and this time we have watched the Scorpion King with Japanese dub
Yes.
for the first time, probably
Yes.
for the last time,
Yeah. First and only, I'll say.
and for the only time. What are your initial spontaneous reactions?
Well, I figured
React, please.
we could do we could do something to both of us,
Mm.
not just me, and we could start with. This is a two-part question here.
Hmm.
What were your expectations, and were those expectations met? How do you feel before, and how do you feel after? We'll go. We'll do before. Let's do both our befores first.
Okay. My before, i.e., my expectations, were. I won't lie, they were pretty high. I Because I feel like the Japanese dub has been something that kind of re-entered the cylinders of the six shooter known as watching the Scorpion King 52 times after having been absent for some time.
Mm.
So it felt pretty fresh, like this is gonna be fun. This will be interesting. Uh, yeah, I guess that's how I felt before.
Okay. I'm gonna say that I had my answer is a two-parter. I always have to go that extra mile, you know. So um, there was I've had almost an idea that it felt like this wasn't gonna happen. It felt like we
Oh,
weren't
really?
gonna watch the Japanese dub for some reason. I don't know. It felt like it sort of disappeared. Um,
Do you feel like maybe that had something to do with the Italian dub?
no, I don't think so. Maybe, well, maybe a little bit. The Italian dub was so bad, but the Italian dub was so long ago.
Mm.
Though, then again, we've had the Blu-ray for a very long time as well. At this point, but you know, it did feel a bit like it had disappeared, and then the it sort of showing up again felt really potentially good. And then for the actual dub, I think as you, I had pretty high hopes for what it would entail. Um, I'll leave it at that. I had pretty
Yeah.
high hopes. We should maybe like base this in that while we are not fluent Japanese speakers, we're even close to that. But let's say we are fans of Japanese media.
Yes, we have heard the Japanese language more than a few times
Yes.
in the wider realms.
Yeah. So unlike the Italian dub, for example, which is basically just like even if it was good, which it wasn't, it was horrible. It would have
Mm.
still been, you know, mostly gibberish to us. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So the
moving on from
second
that,
part,
how are you feeling right now?
a bit threatened because you brought out that thing as you said that. Uh, but yeah, I'll definitely say my expectations were not met. They were the way I said not met now made me feel it the way I say tack met, and that didn't feel all that good. My expectations were not met. I expected more, and I feel like, without getting too much ahead of myself, I expected more of the voices to be, or rather more of the characters, like different individual characters' voices, to be more, exciting than to discover than it turned out to be. And I also didn't feel like a lot of the characters were portrayed, I'll say, accurately, or something like that.
Could get into the nitty gritty afterwards, but I'll say I do agree with you generally here. But I think one could almost I think you could possibly classify it as the expectation, because we played a lot of Japanese games and watched a lot of anime. Could you lower your mic ears a bit? Or not your mic, your headphones. I keep hearing myself.
I thought you meant physically lowered.
No, get rid of your mic.
I shall bring them closer to mine dome-shaped.
Yeah, but we watched a lot of games, seen a lot of anime, and the sort of, I think the live action Japanese stuff we've seen is anime inspired as well. We've seen. Have you seen My Boss, My Hero? No, I think I saw that with Robin, and whatever. It doesn't really matter.
I have seen a lot of Kurosawa movies.
Yeah.
Though. So I know like what movie Japanese sounds like compared to like anime Japanese.
Yeah, but that's so old as well.
Oh, that's true. Well, I have seen some other Japanese movies also.
But I think, I'm not going to say that we're like, this is just like my Japanese animes, not like that. But I think the Scorpion King has, like, when you look at it and you think about what they ought to do with it, it feels like they ought to treat it like an anime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they didn't. They didn't do that.
They basically took it way too seriously.
Yeah.
It felt like it was way too straight-laced, the entire thing. And
I think a problem with that as well is that unlike in watching a Beat Takeshi movie or something, the actors are, Dwayne is voice acted by Rikia Koyama, right? Who is famously a lot of things, but very famously Takamura from Hajime no Ippo.
From Ippo.
Who is a super, that's anime as hell, and he's so larger than life. And then you put him here, and it's not just a Japanese actor; it's someone you know from doing those things, and then he doesn't really do them.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like, I mean, obviously such things are like down to direction and so on, but I feel like the direction was, keep it down, like basically the entire movie, and which is amusing because I commented a lot during the watch how Koyama was like made Dwayne, or I should say Matthias, seem much more like heroic and like loud in a way, because we're in the movie he'll like kind of like downplay a lot of his lines and like say something with some kind of comedic timing. In the Japanese it was always always on, like no matter what the emotion of the scene was, it's like I am always talking like this and I feel that this should be and so on. Which was a bit strange. The standout voice, I feel like we should get to this right away. We were very excited to hear Memnon's voice, and I'll say that Memnon's voice was for me absolutely the highlight. But it wasn't necessarily because Memnon's voice did such a good job. It was so great, like in that sense. It was mostly because it felt like everybody else was so muted, like in their performance. So hidden visitors.
Yes. I don't know if I agree with the statement that Memnon would be the highlight voice either. I think to me, it was fine.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. I completely forgot about another standout voice. But I won't interrupt you. You can keep on.
To me, it was kind of boring. I liked certain standout parts. I thought were great. Peep, peep, peep.
Surprise sounds all over.
You know, it was funny how, you know, he said romantic, you know.
Yeah.
that was good.
The source.
It was just kind of interesting. You could do some sort of like meta contextual analysis of the Swedish sub versus the Japanese dub, because you know, they, to me, to my limited the limited scope of my Japanese understanding, the dub didn't feel at all like it was going for a historical
no, absolutely not
thing.
Like at most, and this doesn't count at all, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Like the only thing that really gave that sort of thing is how they say Heka all the time as a translation for my lord, like that sort of thing. But in terms of how the style of Japanese they speak, they clearly are not speaking like, you know, the way that usually in like period pieces, Japanese films, how they speak like old time Japanese.
Yeah. But it was fine. I think still he's sort of the Memnon voice actor. I don't know who voice actor. It was pretty hard to find the names for the voice actors.
Very difficult to get this information,
which sucks. It's interesting. You can find out that Riki Koyama does Dwayne because he is Dwayne's voice actor in Japan. Yes. So, you know, you get that sort of you get at it from that angle. But I think Memnon's voice actor, as fine as it was, just highlighted how I think Stephen Brand sort of carries this movie at this point.
You said that Stephen Brand, this just reaffirms how Stephen Brand carries the movie like Atlas on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And I fought this, but I didn't say it. That I want to say, like, you know, like the stereotypical image of Atlas, you know, crouched over and having the world on his shoulders. I feel like Stephen Brand is just standing, you know, like upright with the world above his shoulders, confident.
In Stephen Brand news, we are trying to find some sort of way to contact Stephen Brand. He probably won't ever see it. It is hard to find any avenue of contact that isn't just like his Instagram, which is surprisingly small, I'll say. But I guess stage actors, maybe they don't have like huge social media followings. I don't know.
Maybe he's a sane human being who does not
it's highly possible
invest so much in social media,
but he does use it from time to time.
Yes,
so we consider maybe we'll just write a really long comment there, but that seems a bit unhinged.
We were looking for like any Stephen Brand agents and
exactly
like that sort of, because we want to officially contact Stephen Brand.
Send him an actual letter, maybe.
We want to send him like a letter of appreciation for how
his service, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like over the course of this entire project here, Memnon's character and Stephen Brand's performance as Memnon has really, you know, that dampened the pain.
Yeah, I think it has anchored me in a way. That has been dearly needed.
Yeah, like seeing Stephen Brand on the screen during watches is like coming up for air.
Yeah. So my standout voice was probably Takmet.
Yes, absolutely Takmet. He was so different.
He was so different, and I'll say both the T's were different. Takmet and Thorak were super different.
Yeah, Thorak was vastly diminished.
Yeah, vastly diminished, just wrong. And he really didn't give off as much of a presence as he ought to, I think. I think even if you've only watched the movie once, you might not remember Thorak's name. but I think it's hard to forget the character, and I forget what the actor's name is.
I forget sadly also.
Super German name.
Yeah. We talk about him pretty a lot, I almost said, which is not a good way to talk.
But he has such a memorable, in a good way, dialect. So I think he's hard to forget, but he's super easy to forget in the Japanese dub. I think he just becomes a mook.
Yeah, he's obviously treated like a mook in the dub, as rather than giving him the personality in his lines.
But Takmet was basically, he was given I'll say a voice in equal stature to Dwayne.
Yeah, you said that he sounded like a protagonist in the movie, and I must agree. He was extremely different because his normal voice, like in English, is very kind of like kind of subdued, kind of like almost whispery or whatever. It's like you are the king of sand and rocks, like kind of draws everything out like that, while the Japanese one was like very direct, very I don't know, explosive, straight to the point, and so on. It had power to it. So it technically it didn't really fit Takmet at all, but it certainly made like how you interpret the character, or rather how you I wanted to say interact with, but rather how you view him changed immensely.
Yeah, I'll say this, that for the movie The Scorpion King, it's probably a bad some bad casting. It's not the best casting. But for what I wanted out of it for The Sting of Time, it was perfect casting. I wish the entire movie was casted like that, in that it sort of was transformative and not sort of faithful, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is an odd request, but it is the only reasonable request.
It is a selfish request.
Yes. For a person in my position, in your position, it is the only request possible.
What did what did you think about Balthazar's voice? Because we hyped up Balthazar.
I want to ask you before I answer that question. When you started going, what did you think? Did you know you were heading for asking about Balthazar, or were you panicking about the silence?
I know that you know that I was desperately trying to think of something to say, because I think of everyone who is, all the two persons who are listening to this they might stop and think like, oh, did my phone turn off, or like something like that, because it's silent for a while. So I need to ask you something so that they don't get bored and start thinking about their lives, or other issues, and get depressed. I don't want that for them.
Yeah, I'll say Balthazar was also super forgettable. Now someone is hammering.
A lot of chaos in the land.
Extremely
today.
chaotic.
I forgot to say thank you for the semla. I got a free semla to go with the watch.
Yes, I'll say I am continuously baffled by so many things about you, Oskar. The idea that you haven't had a semla since you were like, I don't know, what did you say? How old were you?
Like a kid, and I mean, when I say kid, I mean like 8, 9.
So you have, and it's not that you hate semla.
Well, I don't particularly like it, but I'll eat one if it's free.
Yeah, sure. And it is insane to me that someone hasn't at least asked if you wanted one for more than 20 years. Like 25 years.
Well, I'm
fairly sure. It's not. I'm not saying you have no people in your life.
No, I don't. But I'm thinking like I'm pretty sure I have declined semla like before. I mean, if it's like, do you want me to buy you a semla, or do you want to, if we're at a cafe or whatever, aren't you gonna buy a Semla? I'll be like, yeah, no, I don't want one. But when you open the door and I'm like, yeah, you like the Semla entered before you did. It was just like, hello, want the Semla, and it's like it's right there. And if I decline now, it would be like, why would I decline? It's right here and it's free.
I did
Yes,
it.
I know. But I decided in the moment, like, okay, I'll have a Semla. It's right here, and I haven't paid for it or anything. So
well, you don't know about that.
Dangerous proclamations in the court.
Yes. Well, you can assume you haven't paid for it at least. We can leave it at that.
I am master assumer.
Yes. Having done 44, today was watch 44, which we didn't cover in that extremely great intro. We have 8 watches left, and we're sort of cutting through the remaining list here.
Yeah, and we're having a stricter schedule now.
Yes.
Like it feels more serious. Like we won't let things fall between the cracks.
That being said, I feel like one of us, and since I say one of us, I will assume
me.
No.
It means you.
Well, I think how these things work is if I feel like you need to do something, then I will just say it. But if I feel like something has to happen, then it generally falls upon me. But maybe that's a projection from my end. But one of us, I'll just say it. I'll say one of us. I'll be has to contact the cinema.
Well, first we have to contact, or I guess we have to contact the cinema first, and then we have to contact Marcus.
Yes, but Marcus has said, a blanket said more or less that he's going to pay for the cinema.
Yes, so we don't need
to contact Marcus. Yeah,
Marcus
exactly.
is Marcus is not needed,
Yes.
Which is not true. Marcus is very needed, but it's not needed to contact him. Yes. Well, if you want me to contact the cinema, I could do that, but that
you know what? We can do it like this. I'll roll a die.
I was gonna say that you need to consider who do you want to contact the cinema, considering how never mind.
Okay, I'm gonna roll a die. Here's the die. 1, 3, and 5 is me. 2, 4, 6 is you. Okay.
I don't like that. I'd prefer if we were like 1 is 1, 2, 3, and 1 is 4, 5, 6.
Well, I disagree. So you're gonna have to convince me why.
Because maybe that die is loaded.
Well, I can switch. I'll be 2, 4, 6 then. Okay, I'm 2, 4, 6. You are 1.
Maybe you've loaded
3,
it both
5.
ways.
You're 1, 3, 5. Are you ready?
Yes.
2. That's me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You're 2.
I will do it. I will take the call to the cinema.
Well, if you want some moral support, I can certainly provide it.
No, I think I am a grown person.
And I shall not provide any. I shall sit
Stop
and
providing me.
I shall be neutrally, I was going to say unsupportive, but I shall be non-supportive.
Any other news in the lands?
News in the land are not. The news are scarce right now.
Whoa, what happened?
Whoa, what happened to me? I disappeared. Whoa.
You disappeared. I might make my head small.
I feel like the lands are becoming warped before my eyes, but
why?
Now it's just a sort of sensation has befallen me that things are not as they seem. You are taking on a certain Sam-like appearance here, but well, aside from that, I feel like I should, just for posterity's sake, we should bring up the fact that the IKEA watch obviously have not happened yet. I still feel like it will happen, but do we feel how, or rather, if I say it like this, what do we think the next watch is?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm not entirely sure what we have left.
There are a lot of big ones left.
Yeah, we have stuff like obviously we have guests left. Like we have Anna, because she's gonna be the last guest. Yeah. We have a potential Red Line, who might show up at some point.
Red Line's a great movie.
Yes, we have IKEA. We have
Marcus.
Return of Marcus. Yeah, the second commentary run. And I think that might be it. I have the list here, so I could just look at it. Oh yeah, and then we obviously have live commentary, which is the last watch, but that's gonna happen the last watch presumably. So
yeah. So how would you feel about kind of like, cementing the next watch being IKEA watch?
It feels a bit dangerous.
Yeah, maybe you are visually representing how it feels now. Like it's,
but we can. Well, let's do it. Let's do IKEA watch next, and we'll just have to figure it out.
I think the cinema watch is gonna take some more time to properly.
Yeah, presumably. Plan. I don't think it's gonna. Even if it's just an A-OK thing, I probably don't think we're gonna get it booked next week.
So rather, the IKEA watch would be something that we'll just.
Well, let's do it like this. Let's do it. We'll say it's IKEA watch, and if Red Line can do next week, we'll do a guest viewing.
It's all up to Red Line.
Yes, it's all up to Red Line, and if he doesn't show, we will kill him.